first time I saw him, I thought he was just one more weird thing in a long list of weird things in my life. Only later I realized he wasn't one more thing. He was the reason. His name was Daniel. He wrote it on the board when Ms. Carter asked him to introduce himself. Perfect handwriting like a textbook font. No hesitation. No smudges. He turned back to the class with a polite half-smile that somehow made my skin crawl. "Say hi, everyone," Ms. Carter chirped. "Daniel just transferred here. Make him feel welcome." A muffled chorus of "hey." Phones came back out. Chairs creaked. Life went on. He looked like any other teenager. Dark hair, pale skin, brand new school hoodie with fold marks still in it. But the way he moved was too controlled, too practiced, like he'd watched videos of how to be a normal student and was copying them. And his eyes, gray, not blue, not hazel, flat gray, like winter sky over a parking lot. The fluorescent lights slid across his irises without really catching. When he scanned the room, it felt less like a shy new kid and more like assessment. "Why don't you take that empty seat by Maya?" Ms. Carter said. Of course. He walked down the aisle, steps measured, shoulders held just right. When he dropped his bag beside the desk, it made no sound. Not a thud, not even a rustle. Just nothing. "Hi," he said, sitting next to me. "Hey," I answered. "I'm Maya." "I know," he said mildly. "She just said, right?" I gave a tiny awkward laugh and looked down at my notebook, where I'd been doodling the same symbol I'd drawn for years. 3 little circles arranged in a triangle, lines connecting them. I never knew why I drew it so much. He glanced at my notebook. "That's an interesting pattern." I snapped it closed so fast people turned around. "Just a doodle," I muttered. His gaze lingered a heartbeat too long. Then he smiled that careful, polite smile again and looked to the front. I told myself I was overreacting. Except I already lived in a life where overreacting and something is actually wrong kept getting confused. By then, I'd already stopped fully trusting my own experiences. Started small, years before Daniel. Waking up with my pajamas on backwards and no idea how. Circular bruises on my arms and thighs I couldn't explain. Perfectly spaced like finger marks. The humming in my head at night, low and metallic, like someone pressing a tuning fork against my skull. The humming would build, pressure behind my eyes, then a blinding flash behind my eyelids, and then nothing. Black. I'd wake up hours later, shaking, with no memory of falling asleep. I tried to tell my mom once. I was 13, sitting at the kitchen table while she worked on her laptop. "I keep waking up with marks," I'd said. "And there's this hum before I black out." "Sleepwalking," she'd said without looking up. "Stress. Hormones. Everyone your age is anxious. Don't scare yourself, honey." After that, I shut up. I slept with the light on and stopped talking about the marks. My therapist said I needed better sleep hygiene and maybe a journal. None of that stopped the humming. By the time Daniel showed up, I'd built my life around those gaps. I checked for bruises in the mirror every morning. I woke up some nights certain someone had just stepped away from my bed. Then I met the new kid who watched space documentaries like they were home movies. It happened in history class, 3rd period. We were watching an ancient documentary about the space race. Half the class was asleep. The narrator droned on about Sputnik. The blinds were half closed. The room hummed with bored breathing. I kept sneaking glances at Daniel. He sat very straight, eyes locked on the screen, not like a kid zoning out but like someone studying. When the narrator started talking about the possibility of alien life, something in him sharpened. I felt it, like a sudden draft of cold air next to me. The narrator joked, "Maybe they're already among us." At that exact second, Daniel whispered, almost soundless, "They are." My skin went cold. "What did you say?" I whispered. He turned, face calm. "Nothing. You must have misheard." I didn't believe him, but I didn't push it. I just watched his profile while the black and white rockets lifted off on the screen and a weird tension settled in my chest. After school, I took the long way home through the park to calm down. It was November, the air sharp and dry. A mom pushed a toddler on a swing. A dog barked in the distance. Normal. I was halfway down the path when the world tilted. Colors brightened too much. The trees seemed to warp at the edges, like heat distortion. The squeak of the swing stretched into a long metallic note. The high ringing started in my ears, merging with the now familiar low hum in my skull. No, I whispered, grabbing a tree trunk. Not here. The hum grew stronger. My feet felt wrong on the ground, like there was a thin layer of glass between us. Vision tunneling, breath shallow. Then a voice cut through it, steady and too close. Maya. The humming snapped off like someone pulled a plug. I was in the park again, clinging to the tree. The swing squeaked normally. Daniel stood a few feet away, hands in his hoodie pockets, staring at me like a doctor watching a patient. How long have you been getting the episodes? He asked quietly. I tightened my grip on the bark. What episodes? The hum, the distortions, the missing time. My heart dropped. I don't know what you're talking about. Lying raises your pulse, he said calmly, and your pupils just dilated. Everyone's pulse jumps when they almost faint. I snapped. Stop acting like you know me. He stepped a little closer, careful and slow. I know what's happening to you. Oh, do you? I said. Because according to my mom it's stress, according to my doctor it's maybe sleepwalking, and according to my therapist I need to drink less coffee. Take your pick. None of the above, he said. It's calibration. The word hit something deep and buried. What did you say? I whispered. They're calibrating you, he said. Adjusting. Testing how much they can activate without destabilizing the host. Host. I felt suddenly very far away from my own body. That's not funny, I said. I'm not joking. He looked around us quickly, scanning. We shouldn't talk here, but we don't have a choice. They're going to escalate soon. Who is they? I demanded. He held my gaze. My people, he said. And yours. I stared at him. I'm done, I said. You're insane. Are you not having recurring dreams? He interrupted gently. Bright rooms. Floating. Figures leaning over you. A voice that doesn't come from anywhere, but is inside your head. My throat closed. I had never told anyone about those dreams. How do you know that? I whispered. I read your file before I came, he said simply. My what? Your file. From the network. Your episodes, your marks, your sleep studies. You were flagged. There are moments when your life splits in two. Before and after. Standing in that park, hearing the new kids say, I read your file. I knew this was one of them. You're not from another school, I said slowly. No, he said. Not in the way you think. You're saying you're not from here, I said. You mean, this town? He hesitated. I mean this planet. That should have sent me running. Instead, it snapped everything into ugly, terrifying focus. His perfect movements, his too steady eyes, the way he'd reacted to the space documentary. You're not crazy, Maya, he said. You were taken. More than once. They did experiment on you, and they left something behind. I felt the world tilt again. Stop, I said. Please. He stepped back, hands raised slightly. Okay, I'll stop for now, but we need to talk before your next episode. And you know when that is because... What, you're psychic? Patterns, he said. Intervals. The next major one is in 5 days. That night, I lay in bed with the lights on, watching shadows shift on my ceiling. Every creak sounded like footsteps. Every car passing outside felt like someone moving in my room. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. We need to talk before Thursday. D. How do you know my number? I wrote. School directory, he replied. Don't panic. What happens Thursday? I asked. Your next big activation. They'll try to pull you farther. If they succeed, you'll come back with less of you each time. Less of me. I pressed the phone to my chest and tried not to cry. The next day at school, everything looked the same but felt different. The hallways seemed too narrow, the lights too bright. I found Daniel at the stairs between classes. Why me? I asked, blocking his path. Why would anyone pick me? I'm not special. He glanced around, then motioned me up the stairwell where it was quieter. You weren't picked at random, he said. You were designed. My blood ran cold. Designed how? He sat a step above me, eyes level with mine. Your mother is human. Your father is human. Biologically. But your conception didn't happen exactly the way your memories say. My mother was there, I snapped. She would notice if an alien dropped me off in a test tube. Your mother remembers a difficult pregnancy after several miscarriages, he said. She remembers a complicated but ultimately joyful delivery. She loves you more than anything. All of that is true. But there was an insertion. My hands went numb. Stop. We use gaps, he said softly. Moments people misremember anyway. Failed IVF attempts. Early hospital visits. We adjust memories. We've been doing it for decades. You were implanted after her third loss. My head spun. And she doesn't know. She knows that you're her miracle, he said. That's enough for her. It's not enough for me, I hissed. What did you put in me? He held my gaze. Our code. Our genetics. You're a hybrid, Maya. Our biology built into a human frame. A bridge. I wanted to reject it, scream at him, walk away, except deep inside, some part of me clicked into place. The dreams, the humming, the way I'd always felt slightly out of sync with other kids, like I was on a half-beat delay. For what? I forced out. What are we bridging? Our dying world and yours, he said. And hopefully war and peace. He told me the rest in quick, clinical phrases. Their star aging too fast. Their body similar to ours but not compatible enough to just land and live here. The risk of immune collapse and mutual extinction. They needed a way to exist in our environment without killing us or being killed. So they engineered people like me. Bridges. Minds that could connect with theirs and live fully in ours. Hybrids who could eventually mediate whatever arrival they had planned. You sound like you think it's reasonable, I said. Like turning humans into secret antennas is just strategy. At first, we thought like that, he said quietly. We underestimated what it meant to be an individual, to love, to fear. We saw you as variables. And now, I asked. He looked at me like the answer hurt. Now I'm here, with you, and I'm not sure they're right anymore. That night, the humming came back hard. Started while I was brushing my teeth. My reflection flickered. For a second, my bathroom turned into a bright, seamless room with glowing walls. A tall, thin figure stood behind me in the mirror. Skin a color I couldn't name, eyes black and huge. You're late, a voice said inside my skull. I spun around. Just my small, messy bathroom. My phone buzzed. They're starting early. Open your window. D. My hands shook as I yanked the blinds up. Daniel stood below, bathed in streetlight, face tight. Let me in, he said when I cracked the window. You're about to slip. You can't be here, my mom. Maya, please. I dragged a chair under the window and helped him climb in. He landed silently, instantly scanning my room like he always did. Sit on the bed, he said. Close your eyes. Bossy, I muttered, but I obeyed. The hum grew louder, a pressure building behind my eyes. It hurts, I whispered. I know, he said. He sat cross-legged on the floor, facing me. They're trying to pull you into transit space. Transit what? A layer between our realities, he said. If you go limp, they'll drag you and send you back with half your awareness wiped. If you lean in, you can stay you. I don't know how to lean in, I said, panic rising. Yes, you do, he said. They built the instinct into you. Trust it. But don't grip the room. Let go. That sounds like the opposite of what I should do. Let go, he repeated, voice steady. I'll be with you. The hum climbed higher, turning into a whine. My vision warped. Now, he said. Let go. I released my grip on the blanket. The world folded inside out. I was standing on a smooth, warm floor in a white, endless space. Light came from nowhere and everywhere. The air tasted metallic. My pajamas and body were still mine, but everything else felt wrong. Maya, a voice said without sound. I turned. One of them, like the figure from the mirror, stood a few feet away. Tall, narrow, no hair, skin shimmering between colors, huge black eyes. The small mouth didn't move when it spoke. You stabilized quickly, it observed. Efficient. Don't read my thoughts without asking. I snapped automatically. Even though I had no idea how to block it. This is the most practical channel, it said. Vocalization is unnecessary. Too bad. I said. You don't get to decide what's necessary for me. Emotional volatility, it noted. Stronger than in previous sessions. My chest tightened. Previous what? Tilted its head. You are here regularly for calibration and adjustment. So I've been here before and you just erased it? I said. We stored only essential parameters, it replied. Subjective distress is irrelevant data. I wanted to punch something. You built me. You edited my parents' memory. You appear in my bathroom mirror. And you call my feelings irrelevant data? We operate on necessity, it said calmly. Your planet is unstable. You are dismantling your biosphere. Our world is dying. We require survival. You require guidance. Hybrids like you are the solution. Great sales pitch, I said. But I didn't agree to any of this. Consent is a local concept, it said. We cannot afford it. That's not your call, I said. You can't take my life, wrap it in your logic, and pretend this is fine because you did the math. Your life is a node in a system, it said. You are a bridge. Your function is to help choose the path that avoids mutual extinction. That stopped me. Mutual. Yes, it said. Your species is driving itself toward collapse. If you die, this planet is useless to us. If we arrive too fast, we trigger war. Hybrids model cooperation. If you and others like you choose to merge our futures, both can live. And if we don't? I asked. Then both will likely die, it said. We have no scenario in which one survives without the other eventually failing. So I'm supposed to carry that decision? I said, throat tight. I'm 16. There are others, it said. Multiple hybrids. You are one decision point among many. I thought of my mom, my school, my stupid history homework, the chipped mug I loved. None of that existed here. Just cold logic and calculations. I'm more than your node, I said. You built me partly human. Humans come with mess, love, anger, stupidity, miracles. You don't get to take the parts you like, our creativity, and erase the parts you don't. Creativity arises from chaos, it said. Unpredictability, suffering. We cannot simulate that. That is why we made you. Then you don't get total control, I said. You can't want our chaos and demand obedience. That's not how we work. No is still a new variable to us, it said. Get used to it, I said. Because if you want me as your bridge, I'm going to use it a lot. The floor pulsed under my feet. The overseer, because that's what it called itself, studied me. You are dangerously attached to your individual perspective, it said. This may interfere with optimal outcomes. I'm attached to people, I said. Specific ones. You mark that as a bug. I call it being alive. Time is limited, it said. Your neural patterns are reaching threshold. We will resume calibration. No, I said. Paused. We will resume when you drag me back in, I said in my head, surprising myself. But I won't just sit there and let you tune me like a radio. If you want me to help, you have to talk to me like a person, not a spreadsheet. There was a long silence, humming under my skin. You are not standard, it finally said. Good, I replied. The white world fractured. I fell. I snapped back onto my bed, curled around myself, gasping. My room swam into focus. Daniel was still there, watching me like a lifeline. You stayed conscious, he said, relief flooding his voice. What do you remember? Everything, I think, I said. Your boss is a jerk. He let out a shaky laugh. Overseer. Yeah. They're not great with empathy. He called me a project, I said. I yelled at him. It was weirdly satisfying. You told them no, he said softly. Do you know how rare that is? My hands were still trembling. He reached up and took one gently, his grip warm and very human. I don't want to be a tool, I whispered. Good, he said, because we're going to need you as something else. We started meeting more after that. Sometimes to practice grounding, his word, sometimes just to talk. He taught me how to feel the edge of the network without falling in. It was like standing at the lip of a huge, humming ocean in the dark. If I leaned too far, I'd slip under. But if I stayed on the shore, I could sense currents, faint pulses that told me there were others like me out there. How many hybrids are near us? I asked once in the library. In this area, he said quietly. 5, including you. Do they know? 1 does, he said. 2 are unstable. 1. His jaw tightened. 1 was lost last year. Lost, I repeated. Integration, he said. They pushed too much of the network through a brain that couldn't handle it. It burned out. You mean they died? I said. Yes, he said. They died. Something cold settled in my stomach. Can that happen to me? He didn't lie. Yes, but I'm here to lower that risk. Because it's your job, I said. And because I don't want you to die, he said quietly. We sat outside on the bleachers one afternoon, watching the football team practice. The air smelled like cut grass and sweat. Do you think they're right? I asked. About us destroying the planet. Yes, he said. Your species is very good at ignoring slow disasters, but also capable of changing course faster than anything we've ever modeled. You think we will? I asked. I think you might, he said. If enough of you decide to. Us hybrids or humans in general? Both, he said. You're not separate anymore. A few weeks later, everything changed again. I woke up one morning and the hum was gone. Not quieter. Gone. A silence so deep it made my ears ring. For the first time in years, my head felt empty. No background vibration. No faint pull. Just me. Panic surged. What if they'd shut me off? What if they'd decided I was defective and cut the cord? I texted Daniel. I can't feel them. At all. No reply. I threw on clothes and half ran to school, heart hammering. I found him on the curb by the back parking lot, elbows on his knees, staring at nothing. His posture was all wrong for him, slumped and human. They cut us off, he said before I could speak. I sat beside him. Completely, he nodded. I can't hear the network. I can't feel the overseers. Nothing. I stared. Why would they do that? I don't know, he said. There was tension, disagreement. Some of us pushed back more than they expected. Maybe they shut us out. Maybe something happened on their end. Either way, we're on our own. I waited for terror to crush me. Didn't. Instead, I felt a strange, guilty lightness. So we're free, I said. He gave a small, humorless laugh. I wouldn't go that far. They still exist. They can reconnect. But for now, they're not in our heads. I looked at him. His eyes had changed. The flat gray had a ring of color now, like something was waking up behind them. What about you? I asked. Are you still, you without them? Yes, he said slowly. But there's a quiet where there was always noise. It's disorienting. He glanced at me, and it's also a relief. We sat together in silence, 2 cut-off experiments with no instructions. What does this mean? I asked. For the plan? For hybrids? For the whole bridge thing? It means we decide now, he said. Not them. Decide what? I asked. What we are, he said. We're not fully human. We're not fully them. We're something new. The third thing. A species that never asked to exist but does. That's a lot, I said weakly. You make it sound like a revolution. It might be, he said, if they reconnect and try to run things like before. And if they do? He looked at me, and his eyes were more human than I'd ever seen them. Then we tell them no, he said. Not alone. Together. All of us like you. Bridges. Hybrids. Whatever we call ourselves. We negotiate. We don't obey. And humanity? I asked. Do we tell them? My mom? The world? Not yet, he said. Panic helps no one. And humans already think you're an anxious teenager. He gave a small smile. But someday, yes. If we want any hope of a peaceful merge, the truth has to come out. I thought of the overseer and its cold talk of necessity. I thought of my mom humming while cooking dinner, off-key and soft. I thought of the football coach yelling at players as if this practice mattered more than anything. Do you really think we can do it? I asked. Steer two worlds without wrecking both? He squeezed my hand. I don't know, he said honestly. But I'd rather try with you than leave it to them. The first bell rang in the distance. Students streamed past the parking lot, shoving each other, laughing, complaining about homework. No one looked at us twice. We're going to be late, I said out of habit. We can afford to be late, he said. We just took a step away from a civilization that thinks your feelings are irrelevant data. I think we've earned 3 more minutes. We stayed until the flow of students thinned, then stood and walked toward the doors side by side. Inside, everything was exactly the same. Announcements crackling on the intercom, locker doors slamming, a girl crying quietly in the bathroom, a teacher telling a bad joke about aliens on the morning news and how at least we didn't have any at our school. I caught Daniel's eye across homeroom. He lifted one eyebrow the tiniest bit. I almost smiled. No one here knew that the new kid wasn't from Earth. No one knew that the girl doodling triangles in her notebook had argued with beings who thought in centuries. No one knew that, somewhere, there was a dying star and a dying planet and a group of engineered kids standing in between. I used to feel like a victim of something too big to fight, a lab rat in a maze I couldn't see. Now, with the hum gone and my mind quiet and my hand-shaped bruises fading, I felt something else. Still scared, still angry, still confused almost all the time, but also responsible. Not because they said I was, because I decided I was. I'm not fully one of us, not fully one of them. I'm something in between, and maybe that's not a curse. Maybe that's what being human is becoming, learning that us and outsider are a lot more tangled than we like to admit. Maybe the most terrifying thought isn't that aliens live among us. Maybe it's that some of us were never just one thing to begin with, and that the future belongs to those of us who can live with that, who can love a world we weren't entirely born to, but choose anyway. The new kid in class is not from Earth. Turns out, neither am I. And for now, no one knows but us.